Hi, this is Tony at Cover. Welcome to our Mindshift podcast series. This particular episode is a discussion with Momentum Financial Planning's roundtable, and this is episode 1 of 2 episodes that we are doing with Momentum Financial Planning, specifically around advice. First up is the roundtable discussion with some of the execs at Momentum Financial Planning. Hi, this is Tony van Niekerk at Cover Magazine. I'm speaking to the guys from Momentum Financial Planning. As we all know, Momentum has been in the environment of financial planning, financial advice for a very long time. And it's a great time for me to talk about this with them because Momentum at the moment has got a very big focus on financial advice, financial planning, and the whole drive in terms of professionalism in the advice environment. So I'm glad to be here today, and I'm going to ask you guys to please just introduce yourself to the audience so that they know who the big guys are that I'm talking to.
Hi Tony, thank you firstly for the opportunity. I'm the strategic head for financial planning and advice as well as wealth management within the bigger Momentum group.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sonja.
Tony, also thank you for the opportunity. I'm Aldert Brink and I'm CEO for Momentum Financial Planning.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. So I'm speaking to the right guys when it comes to what I need to know. I'm going to start with you, Aldert, and just maybe ask you, first of all, just to tell me a little bit about Momentum Financial Planning in the sense of what your actual purpose is and what you would like to do with Momentum Financial Planning.
Thank you, Tony. It's so in the traditional sense of defining MFP or Momentum Financial Planning, it would be a tied agency. Mm-hmm. However, I think it's I'd like to first maybe refer to our group purpose, and that is that we build and protect the financial dreams of our clients.
Yeah,
and that really speaks to what Momentum Financial Planning is all about. And we are the closest extension to our clients out there, yeah. Compared to our, let's call it head office, that is more a product environment.
Yeah.
We are the individuals that on a day-to-day basis sit in the trenches and talk to clients.
You make sure the right product gets to the right client at the right time.
That's correct, yes. And I think the significance is, from our purpose statement, is that financial planning is such a key element in the day-to-day lives of clients out there. That although it is a business and although we do have shareholders that looks after our business, this is one of those industries where the success of our financial advisors actually culminates so much more in the success of individuals and families because of getting financial advice. So it's truly living to our purpose. It's truly building and protecting the dreams of clients. So that's where I see Momentum Financial Planning. And when we talk about growing our business, it ultimately culminates into more clients having access to advice, which is what we stand for.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as you can see from my hairline, I've been in this business for a while. The whole industry has evolved quite a bit. And financial planning used to almost be a sales environment, and that has now evolved over time, and it's magnificent to see where we are today. Maybe you can give us a little bit your sort of feel for how it's evolved to where it is now, but more importantly, how do you see the current role of a financial advisor and financial planning and where we're going with this?
Very much so. I think 30 years ago, this industry was built on hard sales strategies, which I don't always think was the best outcome for clients, but that has really changed. It's a highly regulated environment, and for someone to be a professional financial advisor these days is very different. It is a career of choice for individuals that goes and study. There are qualifications out there. I think the CFP designation has done a lot to also lift the standard of advice. But from a financial planner's perspective is in the past where yes, it's still, I think, unfortunately, financial advice still to a certain degree needs to be sold. I don't think people wake up in the morning and say, I need to talk about my will every day.
Yeah.
We are in the high emotion business, which means that sometimes it is uncomfortable discussions that needs to be had with clients. But that also talks to the role of an advisor. It has become someone who needs to be highly educated and knowledgeable with regards to what's happening out there, and then translate that into a conversation where sometimes uncomfortable discussions are being held with clients, where families need to start thinking about, or are forced to think about the future and think about when life happens, how will that affect them. And that has really culminated into a way that an advisor needs to have a different skill set. It's not just someone that can sell a product, but it's really someone that starts to almost become a coach for clients. And that's what I think is the beauty of the industry, but that's also what's needed today in being a successful financial advisor.
And how do you attract those type of financial advisors? How do you make sure that you get the right people in that can fulfill that purpose?
I think it's a two-way answer. The one is the current demographics of financial advisors is probably almost too old. I think we need a lot more younger blood. But in saying that, I think what we do see is that younger individuals that do enter the industry are really passionate about financial advice. So it is we are attracting young professionals that want to be in this business, want to make a difference. It's not just about having a lucrative career. It's really being in touch with clients. So attracting them is I think to a certain extent we see younger individuals choosing this as a career, and then we also see individuals that are career changers that through life realize that they've got a different calling. And enter our business and enter our industry. And then it's up to us to also support them through this process and really ensure that they are equipped to become what they need to be.
Yeah. And I mean, the Financial Planning Institute has done a sterling job of setting standards and having something to measure by whether the person is actually living up to that and so on. But from your side as a business, as financial Momentum Financial Planning, how do you measure, first of all, Momentum Financial Planning success, and then the individual success of the advisors? You know, what is that sort of yardstick as to how you get that?
So the ideal client in terms of us is a client that around all these different needs, so it's holistic financial planning, has got a plan. And success for us, and Sonja will allude to that, I'm sure, in a little bit more detail in some of your questions, is we've started with a concept called MAPS, where there are different life maps. So whether it's your wealth or your finances or health, we determine clients that's got maps in all the areas of their lives as being a successful client. So that's the intent, so is to move away from single need sales into holistic financial planning. So from my perspective is a successful advisor is an advisor that has got a portfolio of clients that's been advised around all the different needs in their lives.
Okay, so it's, as you say, not the product.
Yeah, and maybe to add on to that, we believe we offer sales through advice, and it's a totally different approach to what we've known in the industry all along, where it was just about products and sales of products. So it's really to uncover the advice and the outcomes for a client before we actually move into the sales. So I think it will allow for new advisors also to really find themselves to have a profession where they really change people's life and not just products.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But that makes me think of so you're almost the client of Momentum Life and the client of Momentum Short-Term Insurance. Do you see it that way yourselves, or how do you wrap your mind around that?
Yes, I think to a certain degree we are the client of them. We are the conduit that needs to translate products into a advice conversation, and that's our role. Is that middleman between product and end client, and ensuring that that's packaged into an advice conversation which we firmly believe is, I almost want to say a client can't have too many products, as long as it's wrapped into a advice conversation. A client who's got medical aid, and a client who's got a will, and a client who's got life cover and disability cover and future savings, all of them are better off compared to a client who don't have that.
Oh, yeah.
So from that perspective, yes, we are a client of our product houses, but we are the translators packaging that into an advice conversation and taking it out to clients.
And I also believe, if you want synergy with your client, you need to be a client as well. And that gives us the competitive advantage actually to know exactly what the experience is. So if you have a map, what does it mean? What is the meaning to me as a client? And then also to bring that alive in our processes and our client experiences. So I think it gives us first-hand experience to build that synergy between our clients and our advisors.
Yeah. And maybe just from your side, Albert, in closing, how do you see this develop into the future? Because we always, it's fascinating to me from a business perspective. We are here now and you see, okay, so this is the ultimate business model in business, etc. Do you have any plans, any visions for how do you see this develop?
Tony, I do think that the way we consume products and content is always evolving and changing. 20 years ago, I would probably still read a newspaper and consume articles where on a paper, yes, or reading a book and so forth, where currently is the way I consume content looks vastly different. And that will change again. That will evolve. I think technology, like something like an SMS, is almost outdated. People don't use it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And it might be in 10 years' time that technology like WhatsApp might be outdated.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, is we consistently need to understand what clients' needs would be. And I think if I say needs, it's clients in different demographics, different age bands. They will all look at a different way on how to consume financial services products. So we've got to consistently ensure we understand what their needs would be. So from a plan perspective is we need to continuously design what we do, starting with a client and not starting with what we think is the right solution in-house. So that's to be close to our clients. And that will change. The plan today might look different in a few years' time. However, the needs from clients I don't think changes rapidly. There will always be a need on something like life cover or a will. The way it's consumed might look very differently, but those needs will still be there. And I also believe that we will have to partner with technology. AI is with us, and I think that becomes a partner. It's not something that threatens our industry. When life happens, you need someone that can sit with you and talk you through the tough times or what's the exciting times of, let's say, it's retirement, and that individual conversation, I do think that human touch will always still be relevant. Around that, there will be different ways of consuming content.
And we're going to be speaking to Sonja now about a little bit of that. Sonja, taking from that now, I think Aldert has given us a really good overview as to where we are in terms of momentum financial planning, but also the advice environment and that. From your side, how do you see the advice in the current environment? Because we've got a lot of technology, we've got all the online stuff, we've got people working remote, we've even got clients that are being seen and advised remotely, etc. How do you see that in the current environment and evolving for you?
Tony, that's been a big shift in our industry, and if we look at a trend, I think the digitization and the advanced technology is one of the things that really has changed our industry. And we've seen that especially in advice. So the focus is really to have proper processes in your practice so that you can engage technology to really create the experiences you want for your clients, to manage advice through those experiences. So I think that is quite a challenge for us currently in our industry.
Are you excited about AI?
Absolutely. I think there's so much more that we can do with it. And, I always say use technology to complement what you do, not as something that is a threat. So, yes, artificial intelligence has really grown exponentially. And we believe that will change the way that we engage with our clients, that we, will do our business from day to day. But then again, we need to be aware that AI can't take the place of our advisors. You need that judgment, that interaction, that integration of a person to understand a client's individual goals. But you can use AI in so many other ways to complement your marketing strategy and your communication back to clients.
I mean, Aldert mentioned the maps and the advice for the client over a longer period of time, the advice process, all of that. And I mean, you use a concept called outcomes-based advice.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, in our industry, we talk about the future. We talk about the trust that you have to have in getting to a certain future and all of those sort of things. How do you see outcomes-based advice?
So, Tony, I think that's the one thing that really differentiates momentum in the industry. If we take advice as we've seen it traditionally, we've got two definitions actually in our industry. One is for financial planning and the other one is for advice. And we find that most advisors actually operate only in the one side of this definition. So we believe that outcome-based advice is shifting the focus from the standalone financial decision, this one decision that you have to take, to rather being client-centric, where we actually look at all the financial outcomes of a client and then building that into the financial solutions and the map that we referred to earlier on.
And how does a professional financial advisor look for you?
Well, a professional advisor, there's a couple of things that's quite important to me. And one is definitely competence. I think going forward, competence will be a really important part of an advisor. Why I'm saying that is that we need to engage with the client in a different way. It's not just the financial expertise that we need to have, but we need to understand a client from a deeper level. So emotional intelligence is part of that. And we find that, we actually brought in behavioral finance as a part of a component, really to engage with our clients on a deeper level. So it's important, for our advisors to actually be able to, coach our clients on that level. And I'm quite proud to say that we've also included what we call a Certified Behavioural Advisor designation for our advisors that will be available this year. And this will also lead up to a different competence level. I think as well for an advisor, it's important to have a deep understanding of your client and to engage with your client on a level of the being. It's not just the person, but understanding his whole circumstances, etc. And then also to run a practice that's really an advice business. That is a different skill to just running a practice and selling products.
I think that was you anticipated my next question there, is you basically have two sides to it. The one is the skills to be able to do it, but the other one is the environment, the practice. How do you, as Momentum Financial Planning, assist the financial advisors with that?
Well, I absolutely believe that we really give our advisors a huge opportunity with insights, resources and processes that really will differentiate them. And our intent is to differentiate our advisors on an advice process level, also on that competence level that we spoke about, and then also to really engage in client experiences. So what we have is our behavioral informed advice, where we really allow our advisors to have a client profile of every client, to understand their buying patterns, for instance, in a better way, understanding their risk behaviors different, like money scripts and biases and so on. And that really enables them to move into a level of coaching. We've also seen in the latest research that Momentum has done over the period of 2023 to 24 on behavioral tax. And it's amazing that there was still 65 million behavioral tax that went lost because of switches. So we need to enable our advisors to guide, our clients so that they don't take the wrong decisions at the wrong time. And to add on to that, from a practice perspective or a business perspective for our advisors, it's important for them to run certain advice processes within their practice. So we are proud to say that we have fantastic value propositions for our advisors. And if I can use one example, for instance, wealth management, it's for in the investment space. So we have a proper philosophy, a framework, and we actually guide our financial planning outcomes into an investment strategy. And this allows our advisors to really justify and articulate value back to the clients, which is quite important to us.
I mean, in the world of advisor, compliance is like a big thing. It's a very difficult thing. It's time consuming, costs money, especially if you're an independent advisor. What do you do in that regard, and what are the benefits, obviously, of being with Momentum Financial Planning?
Absolutely, yeah. So compliance, I think compliance is one of the biggest burdens for all advisors in the industry. But then again, we need to regulate what we do. Maybe if I can just add on to that, I think with the new regulatory changes with the Conduct of Financial Institutes Bill that most people are aware of, we call it COFI in short, is absolutely focusing on compliance, not to be rule-based anymore, but rather principle-based. And this actually moves the responsibility from the regulator to the FSP or the business Momentum. So we need to have proper processes in place. And I can absolutely say that we have done so. And the reason why we have the value propositions is really to embed the compliance process for our advisors so that they don't need to actually have to do all the additional documents, but it's absolutely in the process. So that takes a bit of the burden away for our advisors.
Without splitting hair, how do you see the difference for you in terms of how you do it versus any other business in the industry?
So Tony, I think just to simplify it, we differentiate in terms of advice where we say it's really just 30 centimeters. So what I mean by that, it's really to take advice from that complex financial expertise level, which is all in your head, straight down 30 centimeters to your heart, and really connect with our clients in a place where it's important to them as a person.
Because they don't see the product. That's not, they see what it means, what the outcome will be at the end of the day.
Yes, and how it plays out in their life and how it makes a difference in their circumstances, which is very different to the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Aldert, Sonja. Thank you. It was great chatting to you. And it's for someone like me who's been around for a while, it's great to see that the profession is really getting established. And that people can actually really make a difference and not just provide a product at the end of the day. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for the work that you do in the industry.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.